Can we talk about Jesus for a second? Lately, I've been a bit troubled about something. I've interacted with a number of former Catholics, people who left our church for one Protestant church or another, who said it was the best thing that they've ever done in their life. Why? Because they found Jesus in their new church. I wish that I could say I was making this up or there was an isolated experience, but I'm sure that plenty of other Catholic ministers have experienced the same thing. People are leaving our church to find Jesus. Despite the fact that Jesus himself founded our church and that nearly every document we've ever put forward proclaims his life, death, and resurrection as the very center of it all. Even though our Sunday worship, the fundamental act of our community, is proclaiming the Word of God, which is Jesus Christ, and in celebrating the Last Supper, in which we receive him sacramentally. Even though the image of Jesus on the cross is plastered on every wall, tabernacle, altar, Bible, and window that we have in every church, even still, despite all of this, people are leaving our church to find Jesus elsewhere. And in one sense, great. I would much rather people be in love with Jesus Christ in a Protestant church than wasting away in a Catholic church. What matters is Jesus Christ, not your congregational affiliation. On the other hand, it should seriously trouble us that people come to our church, a church founded with the sole purpose of proclaiming the good news of Jesus Christ to all nations, and not find him here. And I wonder, why is that? When it seems so apparent to some of us, when he is the very reason that so many of us became and remain Catholic, that so many others seem to miss him entirely. My answer? It's because we don't talk about Jesus. I mean, sure, we say his name plenty in this church. We say prayers to him. But how often does his name pass our lips in social conversations? Do we ever mention him outside of these walls? Do we share our faith? Do we ever tell anyone how much he means to our lives? If we're comfortable talking about our faith at all, and many of us are not, we probably don't use the name Jesus or the title Christ, but rather the generic term God, talking about our faith in abstract and distant terms. And you know how I feel about that. We don't talk about a personal God, the image of the invisible God, a God with a face and a personality and a lived experience, a God that can be seen and heard and touched. We don't talk about a personal God because many of us don't even have a personal relationship to talk about. Ultimately, that's where our problem lies, a personal relationship. Because God is more than a concept or a good feeling. God is a person who lived, a person who knows our names, a person who talks, a person who loves us and wants us to love him back. But Brother Casey, you say, that's Protestant language. They talk about having a personal relationship with Jesus, not us. You're right. Protestants do use that language more than we do. Because Protestants are much more likely to identify themselves as Christian first and their denomination second, to show greater allegiance to Jesus Christ and his mission rather than the institution that maintains it. And we wonder how longtime Catholics can leave our church and find Jesus in theirs. Protestants may use that language more than we do, but it's not a Protestant concept. It's the very essence of what it means to be a Christian. Being Catholic is not about the Pope or speaking Latin or beautiful churches or even the sacraments. None of those things matter one bit, not even the sacraments, if Jesus Christ is not the center of everything we do, if we don't show up to church with a personal relationship with the one who saves. As Pope Francis reminded us in his apostolic exhortation, The Joy of the Gospel, this is not something required just of priests and religious, but of all of us. He says, I invite all Christians everywhere at this very moment to a renewed personal encounter with Jesus Christ, or at least an openness to letting him encounter them. I ask all of you to do this unfailingly each day. No one should think that this invitation is not meant for him or her, since no one is excused from the joy brought by the Lord. Pope Francis is speaking these words to you. He is calling on you to take seriously your relationship with Jesus Christ, to let yourself encounter him today, right now, to let yourself be moved by him, to realize that the living and true God is not some far-off concept, but came to be like us so that we could become like him. He knows what you're going through. He's felt what you felt. And he wants you to go to him when you're in need. And when you do, when you form that personal relationship with Jesus Christ and realize that he is all that you've ever needed, your strength and your joy, I want to ask you to do one thing. Can we talk about Jesus? Can we share what we found so that others will know why we're alive, why we come to this place, why we live with so much joy and mercy and forgiveness? I am extremely proud of our Catholic Church and the mission that it's carried out for nearly 2,000 years, the mission of proclaiming the good news of Jesus Christ to all nations, and I don't want it to end. Which is why it saddens and troubles me a bit that people can encounter us without understanding this mission, that we might be losing track of who we are or what we're called to be. Maybe it's time for renewal. Maybe it's time to remind ourselves who we are and what we're about. Maybe it's time to get back to basics. We are a people that proclaims Jesus Christ. And so I wonder, can we do that? Can we talk about Jesus? Trust me when I say that the life of our church depends on it.